Yo, what is good, YouTube? It's your boy Leach, back here with another reaction video. Julian Sayin has been named Ohio State starting quarterback plus other expected starters across the NCAA. Let's get right into it. My boy Julian Sayin, QB1. I'm just saying, he finna cook Texas on August 30th.
The former five-star prospect, he beat out junior Lincoln Keenholz for the QB1 job in Columbus. Here is more from head coach Ryan Day.
It was a competitive QB battle.
Entire, growth over 6 months. You see that there was a lot of growth made, and you look at the numbers and the production. We felt like, he was, in a situation where he was ready to go play in this game. We also feel like Lincoln's ready to play, but overall Julian was more consistent.
Dana Cannell with us now, our football expert. So Julian Sayin, not an easy task to start off his QB1 status.
Not gonna be easy, bro. But Julian Sayin, bro, we're behind you, bro. You're gonna do big things at Ohio State, bro.
Kicking things off on August 30th.
Going against a really good defense, and Hill over there.
At the shoe. Do you think that Julian was just the easy choice? It was a shoe-in for him, or do you really have to battle for this one?
I think it was a battle. I do believe
y'all see how he come in week one.
Probably about 10 days ago, Ryan Day, he talked about consistency, right? It was interesting that he said that Julian Sayin was the more consistent quarterback, because just over a week ago, he said that's what it was lacking. He wanted somebody to step up in that position. Julian Sayin has been the guy with all the buzz. The minute that he made the decision to leave Alabama when Nick Saban retired and to step on campus,
I think that's why he left.
The only things you've heard have been good about Julian Sayin. Now, saying that, it's easy to be
which I really can't blame.
Everybody loves you in practice. And I do think this is one of the best things, because the only thing, Jen, you mentioned the pressure-packed environment that's going to be when he's facing Texas. Yeah. The only thing close to that is having to earn your job, making him feel like he's threatened, and he's got to step up.
Go make a name for yourself, bro. You go against the number one team in the country.
I do think it was
start
close.
off
I think
your
it was a good thing that he stepped up and took hold of the reins finally. But I do think
the nerves gonna be there, but
now where
you got Jeremiah Smith out there, bro. You got Brandon Innes, you got Cardinal Tate,
who's the quarterback under center in the backfield, man. And we have a drive to win. They need to know who they're looking at, who their leader is. So I think this timing is about right, where I'd like to see Ryan Day make that decision, and sure enough, he did.
It's interesting you bring that up, because Jeremiah Smith just came out a day or two ago saying that Ohio State's offense is finding rhythm with both quarterbacks. But how big of a plus is it that they now have named the starter? They can build on that connection with QB1 and Jeremiah Smith.
It's big too, Jenny, because Lincoln Keenholz is sort of a different style of quarterback. He's a little bit more mobile, and so they might have been running the ball more. So it's also important for Brian Hartline, the new offensive coordinator, to know what kind of game plan are we scheming up for Texas. And it's also important for those continuity, because when you do things in practice, a lot of times it's the ones, and you're practicing with the first team. And if you're rolling out a quarterback in there, you might miss Jeremiah Smith. So
what a freshman season
where he likes
year
the
two
ball,
coming.
what type of breaks that he comes out of certain routes. So you need as many reps as you can get in the first team, with the first team as you can get. I will say this, Jenny, I don't think it's the last we've seen of Lincoln Keenholz. Sure, maybe against Texas, they don't roll him out there. But if Julian Sayin doesn't, light it up, which I wouldn't, I would expect him to play okay.
Yeah, he might, struggle at first, but that was the same thing with CJ Stroud once he, took over. He wasn't the greatest, but it's all about, growing and being better, bro. Yeah, Keenholz, he might.
He's going to light it up for a first-year guy to do that and making his first start in that atmosphere. I do think
that's gonna be crazy,
potentially a package like they used with Devin Brown, who left the program, in the last couple years. I do think maybe they have a package in goal line and short yardage situations for Keenholz. I wouldn't be surprised they use him in.
Maybe they do that.
But I think, and they've also played two quarterbacks before and let it go on if Julian Sayin doesn't take a hold of that job.
He has attempted 12 passes last season, 84 yards and a touchdown. And you mentioned this earlier. So Ohio State with the first-time play caller in Brian Hartline this year. So you think about the change for the Buckeyes in general. It's very different from a Will Howard, Chip Kelly to a Sayin Hartline situation.
Yeah, losing Kelly.
Just for the folks
you know,
out there,
it sucks.
what are we going to be seeing?
I believe in Hartline
That's
and
the thing
Sayin.
that's crazy about this whole college football season. It's not only the Buckeyes, but it's so many teams have all these question marks because you've got new offensive and defensive coordinators at Ohio
and we got
State.
a new DC and not Patricia, but
at least with Will Howard, when he came in, you had a track record of him. He won a Big 12 championship. He had played a lot of football at the Power 4 level. Chip Kelly had experience playing elite level college football and the NFL. So you kind of had both of those coming. And he was a play caller before. Brian Hartline is new to this. This will be his first opportunity to be the guy that is calling the plays.
Yeah.
So you pair that with somebody you've never seen play before, and Julian Sayin. It's one of the reasons.
A lot of
I'm
questions,
not
but I
backing
think
the
Julian
Buckeyes
Sayin
to
going to
just
step
go
up
back
and
to
be
back.
that leader.
I think it'll be
I think
good
Hartline,
year, but how
going to
can
do a
you
good job
expect
as
them
OC.
just to line it back up without any sort
at
of aggression?
first,
I think is a little bit naive.
It would be safe to say we can't
might
exactly
not
say
go
what this team's going to
well,
look like
but
after week
just
one
gotta
as
ride
well,
it out.
because you're
Right.
facing like a tall task when it comes to that week one game, but we will see how it all plays out. We have the news with Ohio State, but there are still quarterback questions around the league, and just taking a look at some of them
Notable
here.
college
For
football
Michigan, it's just
quarterback news. Michigan, Bryce Underwood likely to be QB1, number 1 high school prospect of 25 class. Then Tennessee, Joey Aguilar. I don't know how you say his last name. I definitely butchered it. To start week 1 versus Syracuse August 30th. Then Notre Dame, expected to name QB soon. Matt Zenitz. Kenny Machie is gaining on CJ Carr. And then Syracuse, Steve Ageli to start week 1. Notre Dame transfer will lead Syracuse versus Tennessee August 30th. So, yep, that's some QB news right there.
a matter of when, if not, they
I
announced
definitely
that
didn't
Bryce
say
Underwood is
any of
gonna
the
be
names right. I'm
the
sorry.
starting
I'm not
QB
good
over
with
there
it.
for
Not good with
Tennessee.
names.
The Vols
Never hard
announced
to
that
say, I
UCLA
ain't gonna
transfer
lie.
Joey Aguilar is going to start
Sorry.
week 1, replacing
Aguilar, that's how you
Nico.
say it.
Notre Dame, Matt Zenitz is expecting Notre
Matt
Dame to name a
Zenitz.
starting quarterback soon. And for Syracuse, we're looking at Notre Dame transfer Steve Angeli out there. But let's break down
Steve
these a little bit
Angeli.
more and dive a little bit deeper. Danny's on set with us, continuing this conversation. So let's start with Tennessee announcing that UCLA transfer Joey Aguilar will start week 1, replacing Nico. How do you see him fitting into that Vols offense?
Ooh, this is going to be a tough task because remember the timing of when Nico left Tennessee.
Yeah.
It was like during the spring game. It was right around that time. So he leaves. He
Yeah, I don't
goes
know.
to
Tennessee's
UCLA,
gonna take a
which is
step
where
back
Joey
this year.
Aguilar
They're not gonna be
actually
good.
was. So he gets to Tennessee. And
I tell you
he's
what,
been,
UCLA is gonna
basically
be on the
learning
come
by
up,
a
though. They'll be
fire hose.
tough
Just
with Nico.
Josh Heupel's throwing that system at it, so he's trying to consume as much as he can as he could as possible. And this is a pretty quarterback-dependent system. Yes, they want to
I
run
still
the
think
football and
Tennessee will be
physical,
good, but, like,
Josh Heupel wants
I
his
don't know.
quarterbacks to be
They're in the
confident
SEC,
where
I
they're
mean-
throwing the football vertically down the field. So
I
this
just
one,
don't really think their roster's that
My concern
good.
with Tennessee is I thought you were going to get
Their
a big
defense
jump
is pretty
forward with
solid.
Nico. And then when he leaves, you're kind of back to square one. And you don't have Dylan Sampson, one of the best running backs in the SEC, in the backfield anymore. You don't have a defense, which was one of the better defenses in the SEC last year. So I think this might be one of those more rebuilding years, which in large part was due because of what unfolded at the quarterback position.
It's been an interesting
I mean, their
QB
defense,
room and a lot
like
of
he said,
movement over there for Tennessee. Let's talk about
it'll
Notre
still
Dame
be
that's
solid, I
expected
think.
to name a starting quarterback soon. Kenny Minchie reportedly gaining some ground on CJ Carr over there. What factors will go into determining who will get that final spot?
So this one's surprising. I think most people thought it was CJ Carr's job, and I would tend to agree with that. But the fact that he hasn't been able to grasp it and take it by the horns, I think should be concerning. But I also think it does mean you're seeing some pretty good things from Kenny Minchie behind him. Jenny, I was at a golf tournament.
Oh,
okay?
you
Tied
at a
into
golf tournament?
Okay,
No.
this is in the off season when you can play some golf.
Okay.
And I ran into Jerome Bettis.
Okay.
And Jerome Bettis' son is on the Notre Dame roster. And we were talking, just like cutting it up in the locker room. And I said, hey, I mean, what are you hearing about CJ Carr? I think he's going to be pretty good. And he goes, I'm actually hearing about Kenny Minchie. Some of the players are talking that he has been popping in
Kenny
practice. He's
Minchie
been making some highlight-type
trying to
plays.
make a
And
name
he
for
said,
himself.
I wouldn't be surprised if this thing is more competitive. This was months ago. This was before their spring game. Then CJ Carr had a good spring game. I was like, oh, well, what does the bus know? The more you're hearing, the more that Minchie is making inroads. And I think it might be because of the difference in quarterbacks. Last year, Riley Leonard, the quarterback for Notre Dame, had 1,000 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns. And I thought Marcus
Riley
Freeman and
Leonard
Mike Denbrock,
was
that
really
offensive
good for
staff,
the Irish
they might have
last
looked
year.
at that and said, you know what, that is a luxury to have a quarterback who is that mobile, can help your offensive line, really opens things for the run game with Jeremiah Love. I do think that that's the difference that Minchie brings to the table. He's more athletic, gets more done with his legs. If you've got both quarterbacks without experience, if you get into trouble and you're a pocket passer, you can get really exposed.
Wow.
If you get in trouble and you're a runner, you can get out of trouble and you can make something good out of it.
Love
I
Leonard
don't know
first
if
duo
that's
in Notre
exactly
Dame
what's
history
going
with
into play,
50
but
plus
I do
rush
think
TDs
this
in
one
a
is very
season.
interesting.
Yeah, they
that
were a
it is
tough
not
duo
being clarified
last
just
year.
yet. This one might go down to the hours before kickoff before Miami.
The bus had a little scoop for you.
Yeah, how about that?
That's interesting, though.
Right? You don't expect to
It's
get
like neck and
Always
neck,
working.
Kenny, Mitchie, and CJ Carr. It'd be
Always
interesting
working.
to see who get
When
it.
it comes to Michigan, it seems like it's just not when, but not if, but when.
Yes.
With Bryce Underwood. When is it going to be, though?
So I thought they were going to play this a little more cautious because they signed Mikey Keene, who was a multi-time transfer who started a lot of games. And Bryce Underwood is a true freshman. I know he got there in January, but he's still a very, very young quarterback. And
very
wealthy.
wealthy.
Yes, exactly. He's got a lot of money in that contract that came with him. But I thought they would take their time and sort of, sprinkle him in, maybe play two quarterbacks early. Mikey Keene was injured. He did miss a lot of the spring. Bryce Underwood did play. And I wonder if Sherman Moore is just like, you know what? Not that the money comes into play.
Underwood will
but
fix
this
that,
is the
though.
uber-talented young player. Let's just roll him out there to the Wolves, and let's see how it goes. Ultimately, what I think they do with him is use his legs, let him run. Again, talking about the way to help young quarterbacks. If you can run, that is a huge advantage. Call some of the quarterback run stuff. Run the football, which Sharon Moore, as a former offensive line coach, loves to do, and just kind of hope that he doesn't mess things up too much. The only caution I have with that is a young quarterback's confidence. But I think Bryce Underwood may be just one of those unique guys who has, the ultimate confidence. A little bit of adversity won't impact him. Plus, I do think he gets a bit of grace because he is so young. People might expect him to struggle, and you just roll with him. So the back end of the season, when he's kind of had those bumps and bruises, then he's starting to play better. And then next year is the year you go in with a lot of confidence.
I'm going to put you on the spot for a quick second here. You really think
Be
money
interesting
doesn't
to see
come into
what
this at all?
Underwood can do with it.
Not this early. Now, I know a lot of them they do in the transfer portal specifically because you bring in guys and there's, it's like professional sports.
Yeah.
It comes politics, but money, it always comes into play. So I do think it has a part. That's why I didn't say Bryce Underwood wouldn't play at all this year.
Right.
We're definitely going to see him, and it looks like we're going to see him week 1.
It looks like it. Danny Cannell breaking down the quarterback battles in college football. Can't believe the season's right around the corner. Danny, thank you. Breaking down.
But that's going to do it, though. Julian Sayin named Ohio State starting quarterback and then other expected starters across college football. Julian, you got this, bro. It's going to be a tough matchup week 1, against Anthill and that Texas defense. Not going to be easy by any means. But we believe in Julian Sayin. I'm just saying he finna cook Texas on August 30th. But that's going to do it for this reaction, though. Make sure y'all subscribe, like the video, and I'm out. Peace.